Give it.
Good evening, you're live with Faye on YouTube. Thank you for joining in. We have a very, very interesting conversation for you. Remember, we're live every evening at 8 o'clock to talk about stories that are important in the country. Now, one of the stories that have always been very, very close to my heart, one issue that's been very close to my heart has been the issue of Indian farmers. It's now been 3 years since I've been tracking it with my team very, very closely. And unfortunately, things have gone from bad to worse. We picked this up, I remember, during demonetization and immediately after that. And post that, now after the lockdown, some of the stories that we hear of what farmers are going through is absolutely heartbreaking. My dad was a farmer and he spent a lot of time telling us about how hard it is to grow anything and how much physical and emotional effort goes in to growing a crop. He gave us a foundation of appreciating the work that farmers do. Unfortunately, in India, for most of the media, the plight of the farmers is almost non-existent, if not tucked away in some random part of the newspaper. And it's never brought forward to the people who really need to hear these stories. Who needs to hear the stories of the farmers? Anyone who eats grain or vegetable or drinks milk or consumes eggs or chicken or anything else in this country. If you eat, you need to know where your food is coming from, and you need to be empathetic and sympathetic to the people who are growing your food. Remember, this country was built on the slogan of Jai Jawan and Jai Kisan. And we have, unfortunately, over the last few decades, forgotten the second half of that slogan. Let's take a look at what's happening with the farmers. Right now, as we speak, the lockdown wreaked havoc on the harvest and the sowing period over the last few months. Locusts happened after that. And again, while nobody is talking about the locust, they're still very prevalent in parts of North India. Floods in Assam and Bihar are completely ruining crops. And then there's this that you see on your screen right now. Farmers in Maharashtra emptying milk cans onto the street. Now, again, a lot of people on Twitter, sitting in the comfort of their homes, are screaming as, oh, why would they waste this milk? It should be given to poor. What you see on your screen is the poor. And the reason why they do this year after year is because that is the only way to get our stubborn attention in urban India. Unless they do this, nobody cares. Unless they do this, no one pays attention. They have no choice. Trust me when I tell you, no farmer would ever, in his right mind or in her right mind, empty their crop or their produce on the road unless they were given no choice. They're doing this to get our attention. And our attention is not a lot to ask for, and we owe the farmers our attention today. The questions that we have to ask, of course, is the government has, through the lockdown, made some announcements for the benefit of farmers. Remember, the government promised us that no one would go hungry in this country, a promise that has been flatly broken across the board. But what is the state with the farmers? The government announced that payments via the PM Kisan plan would be increased, that fisheries and animal husbandry would be included in the PM Kisan plan. 1 trillion rupees would be spent on agricultural infrastructure, and there was some movement in the Essential Commodities Act allowing farmers to pick up contract farming deals and to, of course, sell their produce to whoever they needed to sell. The questions that we're asking this evening are this: has the lockdown driven our farmers further into debt? Are they borrowing even more now? And are they even more unlikely to manage to pay off those loans? That's question one. Question two, are farmers receiving the minimum support price that they were promised? Or has the lockdown and the virus led them to distress selling their crop to whoever was willing to buy it? And three, has the government's policy changes actually helped the farmers in any way? These are the questions that we're asking, and we've put together a really informed panel. And I would ask all of my viewers to really listen to this panel, because this is not information that you and I have access to on a daily basis. We're urban Indians. We don't know enough about what's going on in our villages, and it's our responsibility to listen. Our guests this evening are Yes. Professor H.M. Desar-da is an economist and a former member of the Maharashtra State Planning Board. Sanjay Jog is the consulting editor of the Free Press Journal. Mr. Avik Saha is the national convener of the Jai Kisan Andolan. Mr. Chengal Reddy is a farmer activist and a very vocal voice on behalf of the farmers. Mr. Sadabhau Khot is the president of the Ra-yat Kranti Sanghata and the former agriculture state minister of Maharashtra, all of whom join us right now. Gentlemen, good evening and thank you for joining us. If I may please start with Professor Desar-da. You heard the introduction I put forward, sir. My first question to you is, has the lockdown driven our farmers further into debt?
Yes, farmers and the toiling farmers at that have been always in distress. They have been at the receiving end. But this has been really very seriously hurting them. And of course, all of us are worried about Corona and its the toll it is taking of the lives and livelihoods. But as I join you from the Maharashtra and Marathwada, every day, unfortunately, the farmers are committing suicides, are forced to commit suicide because their last harvest produce was not procured, and without any just announcement of the prices, since the procurement, actual procurement and payment to the farmers, farmer is in distress. And farming is not just like any other country, a marginal thing. Though share in the national income has come down to 14%, but still 44% of the farmers, even in a state which is relatively modernized and industrialized like Maharashtra, are toiling the farms. In Maharashtra, they get just 10% of income, and that is also very uncertain. And if you leave out the crops like sugarcane and grapes and other horticulture produce, what the farmers, that what we call the farmers who do the dry land farming, the millets, all our staple foods and cotton they produce, they are in a very deep distress. And it is really a tragedy that the farmers are, when everybody talks that farmers are given this and that help and relief and the big packages are increased, but those packages are not reaching them. These are just leakages and not actually the packages.
Professor, why are the farmers in Maharashtra dumping milk on the road?
Well, you know, the milk is a one supplementary occupation, which not just the farmers who own the land, but even the landless, the agricultural laborer, they are the cattle rearers and they also contribute to this process. And this is the only thing that gets them income on a weekly and monthly basis. And there has been earlier the good organization of collecting milk and all that, and so the farmers have come into the network of milk, but the milk cooperatives, they mismanage as they are, and there is nothing like Amul in Maharashtra which really will guarantee the purchase, both the procure the milk and pay them promptly. And so farmers are in the distress. They are forced because the milk products they are not being used, and because of these lockdowns and still this lingering lockdowns and the longer lockdowns, there is no regular supply of milk, and
yes.
It is the poor farmers who are in a deep distress, and they are just, as you rightly said, that to invite the attention, they are feeling the pain of it. They sell the milk even when there is no milk for their child in the home, because it is the only way that they can buy other necessities of life by saving the milk. So it is very hard on them, and the city folks need to understand, and of course the policymakers need to understand the nature of the crisis. And this is the liquid, one liquid source of income. If it is tied, yeah, you can understand the distress of the farmers.
Yes. Professor, I'll come back to you. I just want to bring in Mr. Avik. Mr. Saha, there are reports and Sanket Bhatia asks us this question. Reports say that rural economy is doing well because of the monsoon and credit the government also. If that's the case, why are our farmers suffering? And this is true. We've had economic reports saying that employment has improved in rural India, that there is a good monsoon, and so rural India will be the backbone that lifts the country up. Why is there such conflicting reports coming in from across the board?
Faye, it's a deliberate misjoining of issues. Of course, there is a good monsoon. Of course, because of the monsoon, there has been more planting. But the problem is not that there is less planting. The problem is that the focus of governance and policy is on production and never the producer. So even if there is a good monsoon, even if there is a great planting, increased planting, it doesn't make a difference to the farmer. Because finally, with that additional amount of crop, the farmer will still get half the MSP of most of his crops. So those who are tom-tomming these stories about rural India, pushing up the economy, what they're actually saying is that the production that rural India will do will be exploited to make sure that food security of urban India is not impeded. That's the subtext. And you asked a question about debt, but the farmers are in debt because that's the policy. If you remember, Mrs. Sitaraman's announcements of the 20 lakh crore package, the bulk of it, so far as rural India and farmers were concerned, was debt. So the government is firm in its belief that even if the farmers, crop after crop, season after season, are losing money, going below their margin, going below their costs, they will have to be given debt. So on one hand, here is a person constantly losing money on his enterprise, and you constantly give that person loan season after season. What do you expect? Finally, that person is pushed to a pesticide bottle or the tree. So this is policy. This is killing farmers by policy, deliberate, planned, premeditated policy. And it's for everyone to see. It's not an activist speaking. These are facts and figures which are available. And I'm sure there's nobody who can dispute these facts and figures. So sorry, I don't agree with all the good news that is being projected across media, a few favored media. They are trying to show a distorted image. Rural India is in great distress. They are, of course, surviving because of the public distribution of food, etc. That's happening in most states. So people are surviving. People are actually inching towards very, very bad times. That's the best I could say. That's the best wording I could choose.
And Mr. Saha, in the northeast also, we have now floods that are affecting Bihar as well, and the locust. And this is, I mean, if we want to call it hand of God, just making things worse. What is the, and we've always focused on Maharashtra because this is the highest number of suicides, but what is the state of affairs across Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Rajasthan right now?
So again, I take you back to Mrs. Sitaraman. You will remember she had announced and said very specifically 4,400 crore rupees worth of milk has been purchased during the lockdown period. And we are in what we are calling unlock period. And there's milk being spilled on the streets of Maharashtra, Akola, Kolhapur, etc. So the fact is that the farmers, the milk producing farmers, have not been getting price. That was something that was for a headline that Mrs. Sitaraman used. Coming back to locust and floods, of course, the government is not responsible for locust. Accepting that, when there were early warnings in 2019, November, December, January, and clear warnings, it's not someone whispering. It was in the public media, it was in the government's attention. That's the time when the locust problem should have been dealt with. Now, very, very deadly pesticides are being used. And I read a report that the locusts are developing resistance to that. So I remember being on your show another time, and I said that this problem will not die post-monsoon, this will grow, because that's usually the locust attack period in India. So that's a problem which the government is mismanaging, has been mismanaging, and continues to mismanage. Floods, again, the irrigation policy, the damming policy, the water management policy has been so defective. I read an article by Yogendra Yadav today. It is as if floods must happen every year in Assam. And it is as if Assam is not a part of India. It doesn't make news. I'm so happy that you're asking this question. I wonder why the so-called national media talks about excess rain in Delhi, but never about Assam. Northern Bihar is flooded. And this is, earlier, floods were the curse of nature. Now, floods are being the curse of policy. These floods are not happening because of nature. These floods are happening because of bad water management policy. So farmers are at the receiving end of everything, from insects to flood to non-supply of inputs, and of course to the spiraling crash of prices.
Absolutely. In fact, Mr. Saha, just 2-3 days ago, we did a panel on Assam where we had voices from Assam who talked about how neither the state government nor the central government have in any way shown any interest at coming up with a long-term solution of dredging, of embankment strengthening, and of figuring out how to limit the damage of floods and how to limit the damage on crop and livelihood and lives. I just want to focus on that next point that you have raised, and let me take this now to the rest of the panel. Sanjay joins us. He's the consulting editor of the Free Press Journal. Mr. Joe, my next question is whether or not the farmers are receiving the minimum support prices on the ground that the government has promised them. For our audience who doesn't understand how this works, when the farmer grows a bumper crop, which means that so much more than he grew last year, it should be reason for celebration. But what happens is instead the price falls because there's more supply in the market, and the farmer who should be celebrating actually walks away in tears. The minimum support price means that the government will buy the crop at a certain floor value and won't fall below that floor value. But there are reports coming out that it might not actually be executed on that level. Mr. Sanjay Jok, have you heard those reports as well? What are your reporters telling you?
Faye, I think we are holding a discussion at a very right time. Let's talk about, to start with, the MSP you are talking about, with the milk only. As Maharashtra is one of the major producers, 1.60 crore liter of milk is being produced. During the lockdown, it has just reduced to 50%, almost 70 lakh. After so-called that mission begin again, just a 10% addition. But coming back to your MSP, the government has promised to pay 25 liter, to the producers. But what has happened is that in some areas, the money has gone to the bank account. But in some areas, the milk price has dipped to a way below 20, 16, 17 per liter. So what happened to that announcement? That's one question. Second, now, very interestingly, they are demanding why there is a need to have a 10,000 tons of milk powder import that the government of India has now allowed. There is no need. In India, the capacity is more than 350 tons. So why we have to have a milk powder, that is to be imported right now? The farmers are demanding here, instead of you paying them a kind of a subsidy, if you are paying to, why you are not giving us maybe a 10 rupee in addition to whatever we are getting, and also a minimum price of 30 rupees a liter for a cow milk, which they are not getting. This is a very major question. Another point, today, the Dairy Development Minister had a meeting with a couple of organizations. The names like Raju Shetty of Shetkari Sanghata, Swabhimani Shetkari, then there are a couple of Kisan Sabha, All India Kisan Sabha, and a couple of them. What they are demanding is now there is a kind of a mismatch, because the price earlier was 33 rupees a liter, which is now below 20 rupees a liter. Kindly do something to just save the farmers. B, if at all you are not interested and just pursuing the interest of big companies and milk powder producers, then that you are doing it at the cost of the farmers. And the third important issue is that if at all you are going to come out with a policy, do it quickly. Otherwise, there will be much more kind of, resentment, and which may lead to a farmers getting into a day trap and all. So this comes to the milk now. When it comes to the MSP, now the next issue is going to come to the sugarcane. Mr. Desar-da talked about that. Maharashtra, the Kharif plantation generally takes place at about 150 maybe 10.5 million hectares of land, of which just, a paltry, which is almost 1.1 million is under sugarcane cultivation. But the story. There are more than 200 cooperatives as well as private mills. they consume the water, they create a problem, and they again go for a kind of a package. You must have seen Devendra Fadnavis now suddenly has got into, sugar politics, as if he wanted to have a one-upmanship with Mr. Pawar, and went with a delegation demanding a package for the sugar industry. Now the issue is going to come up again. Now with this lockdown, and now the rainfall is yet to hit the rest of Maharashtra, which is going to have a major problem about the Kharif. Now, this, if at all, it will be a reduction in the production. If there will be a major problem with regard to the cold chain and the entire food chain supply, then what's going to happen to the basically farmers? And the third, very interestingly, that's why look at the timing. I mean, so coincident. Today, Chief Minister held a very comprehensive meeting on this same issue. But what other panelists are saying is that the meeting is fine. The implementation is the key area. Whether this government, like the government of India, is really serious to take the issue into account and accordingly help out. And the third, which is very interesting issue, is going to be the coastal Maharashtra, the Ratnagiri, the Raigad, the Thane, Palghar, and Sindhudurg. You must have also seen the reports. They are devastated with the Nisarga cyclone. The entire farming is in a kind of a danger zone. So is government of Maharashtra coming out with a special package? Already they have distributed some 300 crore, then about 250 crore to Ratnagiri, and another some 150 crore to Raigad district. But is it enough now to bear this kind of a loss? And is it also sufficient for the farmers to stay afloat when it comes to getting the MSP and also the regular market for this kind of produce? I think we'll have to wait. The government has taken a meeting at least. What we have to see is that how it will be implemented.
Yes, I want to bring in Mr. Chengal Reddy as well. Mr. Reddy has been a very vocal farmer activist for a very long time. Mr. Reddy, has the government's policy changes helped farmers on the ground? We've heard, like pointed out by Mr. Saha, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman made many announcements. Has anything translated on the ground?
See, the whole problem is the farm sector problems are due to government of India wrong policies. Very rarely it's state governments. They do something, but that is only periphery and it's a sugar coating. There is nothing that states can do. Let me explain. In this last 90 days or 3.5 months or 4 months of COVID, what hasn't come to anybody's notice is we have lost about approximately 120 million tons of vegetables and fruits. Simplest example is you see in Maharashtra alone, the loss of grape farmers is estimated around 5,000 to 6,000 crores. And if you take citrus in Andhra Pradesh, it works out to almost around 3,000 to 4,000 crores. The banana losses in Tamil Nadu, I had a video talk. They estimated is around 2,700 crores. And if you see Nagpur Santra, it is estimated by the local research station is around 700 to 800 crores. What I'm trying to explain is the unfortunate thing is government of India doesn't seem to be there in a blind. They don't understand the fundamentals of agriculture. If you see 60 or 70% value of the entire agriculture produce is from horticulture products, right from Kashmir apple to Kanyakumari, mango and all that. You see certain products like there is 100% losses in flowers, grape, and some of these vegetables like tomato, so on and so forth across the country. And if even in this mango, the losses incurred by Ratnagiri and even North India, today they are hardly able to get around 20-25 rupees for a kilo of langda and chaurisa. And the problem is nothing has coming out either in newspaper or the government of India is taking recognition of the losses. And nobody seems to understand what is happening. I will tell you simplest, what I am estimating is the losses in this last 4 months amounts to almost around 2,75,000 crores, because you estimate any fruit at farm gate price of around 10 to 15 rupees. Only 10 to 15 rupees is the farm gate price. And please remember around 70 or 80% of his farmer's investment by way of fertilizer, pesticides, water, etc., and his family life. Believe me, in many of these crops, there is a total loss, if not 70, 80%. Now, the other problem that is coming up now is This again, this June, July, they started going out with the same vegetables, fruits, etc., etc. And by the end of November, December, and we know very well there is nobody is going to purchase these fruits, vegetables, because the entire system is collapsed. You see, the production is in far off places, like for example, Santra, Mozambique. This comes from far off places. I mean, coconut, they go from southern Indian states to Delhi, Mumbai. Look at Delhi, Mumbai. There is no retailer. You see, every ton of fruit or any of these things has to be sold by the retail people. 4 or 5 nooked people they have to do, and they are selling. The entire thing they have disappeared. They have gone back down. Now the issue is, as you are now telling, you see, the so-called procurement is, yes, as far as the wheat and rice is concerned, the state governments across the country have made effort to procure them at the MSP. But please remember, the MSP fixed by Government of India itself is low, and it is not profitable. And already the problem is, see, Mr. Modi, I mean, we have making an appeal to him that he should consult some people across industry, intellectual and others, and evolve an agriculture plan. The problem is nothing to do with Maharashtra or Andhra Pradesh. The problem is to do with Government of India, entire Indian population, not farmers. It is the city people who are going to suffer in the days to come. See, the supply chain is totally cut off. And the farmers look this in the last 3 months, what their investments are lost. And whatever is being invested from June to December, it is going to be lost. By the beginning of next year, believe me, most of these perishable crops, 50, 60, 70% production will come down. And what is going to happen to government, economy, consumption, people, God only knows. But I am thankful to you, Faye, you are come back. I'm very happy today when I heard you are calling me. You have been so nice, but I miss you. Anyway, I'll tell you 2-3 things. First of all, the calamity is so big. It is like farmers are not going to die because of COVID. Farmers in huge number are going to die because of debts. Already that debt cancer has entered into every farmer's blood, especially those in horticulture, perishables, and also fish, and also poultry. The poultry losses are estimated around 15 to 20,000 crores. Now, how they are going to recover, what they are going to recover. Therefore, see, look, I am not here to criticize anybody. This COVID and problems have come. Government of India has been negligent. And the only main problem that we have to, all of us have to understand is the initiative to resolve the farm crisis has to be taken up by Government of India. That is, Mr. Modi personally has to start working on this. The other day, he announced 3 ordinances. Already some people from Punjab and all that, they are opposing because they are talking of MSP. The simple question all of us must understand, how much of food grains that government is procuring at MSP? Only rice and wheat to some small extent, even that is 15-20% they procure. Now, what if for me as a farmer producing 310 million tons of perishables, fruits, fish, and all that, if I am also going to ask for MSP, who is going to give? There is no answer. The issue is very complicated. And as the professor was telling, the minor millets and also the commercial crops also, there is a serious problem. Nobody has told the farmers of India that they should not sow cotton in this year, because these simpletons, they don't understand. The entire world economy has collapsed. You see, our main export of cotton is to China. China itself is in serious trouble. Now, urban areas, there is nobody to purchase your ready-made garments. Who is going to purchase this cotton which is going to be produced in abundance? Now, there is nobody to tell this. You see, these are mostly small marginal farmers, ignorant, illiterate fellows, and the so-called political parties, they, if they are in the ruling, they say everything is good. If they are in the opposition,
Mr. Reddy,
Mr.
Reddy, I will come back to you because I know that Mr. Avik Saha has to leave. But I'll come back to you to respond to this. And this is the question that I'm asking now to all of you. And I'll start with Mr. Saha. Mr. Saha, is this the consensus on the panel that the government of India has mishandled the entire COVID, lockdown, locust, flood, MSP problem, and that the government is either A, not consulting the right people, or is simply lacks the ability to understand the agricultural sector?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Go ahead. Yes.
The government has mishandled, and the government has mishandled by choice. So I don't know, whether the word mishandled is so appropriate. It is absolutely by choice that this is the time the government has chosen to completely decimate the farming community and to hand over the food chain from production to distribution to reaching the consumer into the hands of a few chosen corporates. The writing is on the wall. So this is mishandling by choice. And the government of India is actually, as Mr. Chengal Reddy rightly said, is going to cause so much misery in rural India that independent India has not yet seen such misery. So this is something that we have to be cautious about. Thank you for bringing this issue up. And let me tell you, some people are waiting to make a lot of money out of this misery of at least 20 crore farming families. This is the problem.
Don't leave 1 second. We have a question from Lilith Saha who says, why can't private firms and corporate firms adopt farmers and ensure fair price as part of CSR? And I just want to point out to Mr. Lilith Saha, we grow approximately 295 million tons of agricultural produce. We don't actually know for sure. This is an estimate. This is everybody's food, including what we export. This is not corporate social responsibility. This is not charity. This is your meal and your children's meal. Mr. Saha, what is the danger here of inviting private firms to come in and make a meal, literally, of the farmer's pay?
Look, adopting farmers and everything that we talk about presumes that farming is a loss-making proposition and people must be kind and sweet. The fact is, it's the most important segment of economy. As you rightly said, it's about food. If you don't have food, you don't have anything else. So the government's policy, especially the government of India's policy, should have been agri-oriented because we are very good at it. India is very good at food production and production of all kinds of crops. Himalayas with oceans on all sides and with the rain that comes in and the flood plains. So that we're focusing on something completely else. To make money out of it, I said those select corporates, they understand the potential. They will take over the food supply. And one of these days, very soon, you're going to buy potatoes at 200 rupees a kg with your mouth shut. No protest, nothing. Food supply will be monopolized and farming will be monopolized. All farmers will get work as farm workers. But this whole supply chain, which is in the hands of millions of people, and that's why the equilibrium exists, is being destabilized. And that's what the three ordinances are about. And I do have differences with Mr. Chengal Reddy on and off on issues, but we are one on one thing, that it is not the government's job to give MSP to farmers, but the government's job is to ensure that the markets are regulated. Very easy to understand. The Bombay Stock Exchange, if the price of a share falls below a certain point, there is a trigger and the trading of that share stops. If that can happen, if share prices can be regulated by the government, why can't food prices be regulated? So I have been always pleading that the government needs to be in the mandis to ensure that there is parity between the trader and the farmer, and the MSP, that is the law of the government, is implemented. This is the only time the government stands back, smiles when its law is flouted. I don't know if the government is allowed to laugh when its law is flouted. Thank you.
So I want to bring in Mr. Sadabhau Khot, who's the president of the Ra-yat Kranti Sanghata. He's a former agricultural state minister. Mr. Khot, thank you for joining us. आप मुझे एक बात बताइए, लास्ट काउंट के हिसाब से महाराष्ट्र में एक साल में 1,700 किसानों की सुसाइड हुई थी. क्या आपको लग रहा है कि ये आंकड़े अभी बढ़ने वाले हैं? और क्या आप बता सकते हैं कि अभी हमारे किसानों के साथ क्या अन्याय हुआ?
धन्यवाद मैं आपको देता हूं इस संवाद के माध्यम से हम जो कोई किसानों के बारे में जो हालत है वो हम कम से कम उसके ऊपर हम चर्चा तो कर रहे हैं और किसानों को कैसा राहत मिल सकती है ये तो सोच रहे, इसलिए मैं आपको धन्यवाद देता हूँ. यह है कि अभी जो लॉकडाउन शुरू हो गया वो तो 4-5 महीने हो गया। इस लॉकडाउन के कालखंड में कम से कम सरकारी आंकड़े है तो 1000 हो 1100, पर इसके ऊपर किसानों ने खुदकुशी की है। लेकिन ये बात है कि इस समय किसी ने किसानों की तरफ ध्यान नहीं दिया, कोई सरकार ने भी ध्यान नहीं दिया, कोई पार्टी ने भी नहीं ध्यान दिया। सब लोग ये कोरोना का लड़ाई कैसे हम जीत सकेंगे इसके बारे में काम पे लगे। लेकिन एक मुझे लगता है कि जब लॉकडाउन शुरू हुआ देश में, महाराष्ट्र में हुआ, तब तो एक कोई कृत्य कार्यक्रम हर राज्यों ने और केंद्र ने भी तैयार करना चाहिए था किसानों के बारे में, तो वो हमने कुछ किया नहीं। अभी मुझे एक संधि बहुत ये कोरोना का वजह से आई थी। वो कौन सी संधि थी? मार्केटिंग की थी। हम किसान और ग्राहक ऐसे एक मार्केटिंग चेन हम राज्य में कर सकते थे, देश में कर सकते थे, लेकिन उनको कोई किसी ने ध्यान नहीं दिया। हमारे कोकण इलाके में आम आई थी, वो हापुस अम्बा बोलते, वो इतना अच्छा था, वो निर्यात नहीं हुआ और सब लोग घर में बैठे थे। घर में तो काम एक ही रहा था कि दिन भर घर के लोगों के साथ बात करना, टीवी देखना, नहीं तो मोबाइल पे रहना, और जब जब खाना मन में खाने के लिए जो आता है तो बना के खा के रहना। लेकिन वो अंगूर हो या डालिम हो, जो फ्रूट किसाने के पास था वो भी हम ग्राहक तक नहीं दिया। जो लोग शहर में बैठे थे, हर गांव में बैठे थे, उनके पास ये सब सब्जियां वगैरह सब हम मार्केटिंग व्यवस्था करते थे, तो एक अच्छा बात होती थी कि किसान डायरेक्ट खरीदार डायरेक्ट ग्राहक तक पहुंच सकता था और एक अच्छा चेन इस देश में राज्य में खड़ी हो सकती थी। वो भी हमने नहीं किया और किसानों को मालूम भी नहीं पड़ा कि ये लॉकडाउन के वजह से मेरे खेत में जो सब्जियां बनाए वो कहाँ जाके मैं दुकान लाऊं, कहाँ बिको, उनको कुछ मालूम नहीं पड़ता था। वो बाहर जाता था, वो पुलिस उनको मार देते थे, और लेकिन उसके ऊपर किसी का ध्यान नहीं था। और इसी वजह से किसानों का नुकसान, वो सब्जी में नुकसान हुआ, अंगूर में नुकसान हुआ, आम में नुकसान हुआ, प्याज में नुकसान ही नुकसान हुआ। और उनका बैंक का ऋण वो वापस नहीं दे सका, वो बैंक वालों ने नया ऋण उनको नहीं दिया। दूसरा जो बोनी जो किया, लेकिन वो अच्छा तरह से वो जो सोयाबीन है वो उगल के नहीं आया, वो सब नुकसान उनका हो गया। और एक भरोसे का धंधा उनका था, वो दूध का था। अभी क्या हो गया, दूध का धंधे में हमें तो कम से कम 10 दिन के बाद हम 1 हफ्ते का पैसा तो हमारे घर पे आता था। अभी वो भी ऐसा हो गया कि शुरू में हमारे महाराष्ट्र में काऊ के दूध का रेट 32 से 35 रुपए तक था। अभी 20 रुपए तक नीचे इतना उतर नीचे आया है। उसके बारे में कोई सोच न रहा, ना केंद्र सोचती है ना हमारा राज्य सोचते। आणि तो आज वो किसान क्या करेगा, उसके सामने 2 ही आज पर्याय, एक लड़ना नहीं तो खुदकुशी करना। जो हिम्मत वाला किसान है वो आज इकट्ठा होके, उसको नेतृत्व कोई भी दो, वो हम उसका नेतृत्व करे और कोई करे, कोई उसको लेना देना नहीं है। उसका मन में एक ही है कि हम अभी लॉकडाउन के कालखंड में कोई भी हमें मदद कुछ नहीं मिली है तो भी हम खड़े। मैं भी यहाँ से मैं मंत्रिमंडल में राज्य मंत्री भी रहा था, पर मुझे ये पता नहीं लग रहा कि किसानों को पैकेज का फायदा क्या मिला। वो हम बोलते वो प्रधानमंत्री किसान सम्मान योजना, अरे 2000 से क्या होगा हमारा, 6000 से क्या होगा हमारा, पर हमारे कोई भीख नहीं चाहिए आपसे कोई नहीं है। लेकिन हमारा पास जो अनाज है, हमारा पास मिल्क है, हमारा पास फ्रूट है, उसका मार्केटिंग का व्यवस्था खाली खड़ी करो। हमें कोई दया दिखने की जरूरत नहीं है, हमें कोई भीख की जरूरत नहीं। हम हमारे खुद पाव पे खड़े हैं। हमारा सब कुटुंब जो है, हमारा परिवार है, उन्होंने पसीना निकाला है। इस देश में सब फैक्ट्रियां बंद है, लेकिन एक ही फैक्ट्री शुरू है, वो किसानों की खेती की फैक्ट्री शुरू है, और उसके बारे में किसी ने चर्चा भी नहीं की और उसके बारे कोई सोचा ही नहीं। खाली सब घोषणा होती है, लेकिन किसानों के लिए उसका कोई फायदा नहीं मिल रहा है। मुझे ये लगता है, मैं आपका ज्यादा टाइम नहीं लूंगा, खाली एक काम करो कि किसानों की पास जो फसलें हैं, किसानों के पास जी आमदनी है, उसका खाली मार्केटिंग का व्यवस्था आप तो खड़े कर सकते, शहरों में कर सकते, अलग अलग गांव में कर सकते। उतना ही आपने किया तो भी उनको बहुत दिलासा मिलेगा। ये करना बहुत जरूरी है, ऐसे मुझे लगता है। धन्यवाद जी।
Very much, sir. Thank you, Khot साहब हमारे साथ बात करने के लिए. I want to take the questions back to the panel, and the question that's coming up, Hiren Gokani is asking us, irrigation facilities, crop insurance, credit. There's constantly things are being announced by the government. The government constantly talks about how it is a pro-farmer government. Then why is it that we hear worse and worse news from our farms every time? The farmers are protesting that they're throwing the milk, they have to dump the tomatoes on the road, that there's so many suicides. And I have this sinking feeling that the numbers are going to go through the roof after COVID, that when we actually find out what is going on, the suicide numbers would have already shot up and families would be left destitute. Going back to the professor, do you expect suicide numbers to go up after this lockdown?
पहले हमें ये समझना चाहिए, क्योंकि किसान की ये बात हो रही तो मैं इंजीनियर बोल सकता हूँ। मुख्य मुद्दा ये है कि structural problems of Indian farming, they were never addressed.
Yes.
You see, India is the number of farmers in India, 1/4 of the world's peasantry is here in India, and most of them, they are the small and marginal farmers. And all the schemes, whether it is the credit, agro processing, or you the sugar industry in Maharashtra, it is concentrated around the very resourceful farmers. And the political economy, ये जो राजकीय अर्थव्यवस्था है पूरी खेती की, वो एक मोड़ पर आई है। और अभी जी आप कुछ आंकड़े दे रहे थे प्रोडक्शन के, इस देश के में अभी कोई कह रहे थे कि किसानी खेती चल रही है भारत के आज भी, क्या है तो काश्तकारी और कारी है। और आप बता रही थी कि सीरियल का प्रोडक्शन, लेकिन इस देश में सबसे ज्यादा दूध पैदा करने वाला देश दुनिया में भारत है। सबसे ज्यादा चावल और सब्जियां फल भारत में पैदा होती है, लेकिन वो सब लोगों तक नहीं पहुंची है और किसान को और वो उगाने वाले को उसका फायदा भी नहीं मिलता। तो इन सब चीजों को ध्यान में रखकर मुझे
Well, we seem to have lost that connection, but we will try and get the professor back. Yes, if I just if I could just bring in the other guests on the same point. Mr. Chengal, Reddy, you were talking about the same thing, and I just want to add another angle to our discussion. We've seen thousands and thousands of people walk out of the cities during the lockdown and go back to their villages. Already farming was supporting more mouths than it could really support. Too many people were earning too little money by working in the fields. Is agriculture going to be able to support all of these laborers who have now walked back to their villages? Can they all live on Manrega?
It's possible, Faye. It is just possible, Faye. You look at the last 40, 50 years, you look at Korea, Taiwan, Japan, China. They are all very small farm holdings and they are seen successful. Chinese have been achieving more than 10% growth. And look at Israel, it's a high-tech oriented farming, it's also successful. The issue before the farmers is not that it is profitable, small, big. These all, no, I mean, not very, I mean, I don't agree with them. Those ideas have been there for last 40, 50 years. The issue is very simple. In 1990, you brought in about reforms in industry and service sector. The same, you see, you got the best technology from every part of the world. You allowed investments black and white, and you gave market incentives. Now look at the farm sector. Since 1990, what are the reforms you have brought in? This present Prime Minister, when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat, he allowed BT cotton, genetic cotton. It's a smuggled one he allowed. Now in 6 years' time, he has no time to look into genetic cotton. I mean, genetic technology itself. I mean, funded, you see, damn thing is, Government of India is spending 5,000 crores. I don't know whether this Chief Minister or this Congress fellows or any of the politicians know that there are 2 lakhs students who have done genetic studies. And where are they going to get employment? There are thousands of research institutions. They are spending 5,000 rupees. And what is this genetic? Some joker sitting in Delhi says no, then it is closed. Now, the point why I'm feeling sorry for is, this Chief Minister, Mr. Modi, when he was a Chief Minister, he was all for the farmers and all that. You know, he allowed open access in the market reforms in 2000, sometime in 2000, when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat. He allowed genetic technology. He allowed every damn thing. But after becoming Prime Minister, he hasn't initiated even one reform. And in 1 month back, he issues the so-called ordinance. And where is the what? I mean, it looks, I mean, upside. I don't want to find fault with this Prime Minister, because the earlier Congress were bigger mess. They have done a very nonsensical thing. In 2006, they appointed Swaminathan. That report was given in 2007, and this was presented by the great farmers leader, Sarad Pawar, and this chap was never looked into those reports. See, the problem there is very simple. The farm problems are like caste divisions in this country. Those in the organized sectors, be it industry or service sector or employees or even a bloody teacher fellow or the beggar in city, they are organized, they are able to get it. I'll tell you simple farmers problem. Please look at 3 fundamental things. The entire policy of Government of India is policies of import export is with the Government of India. Your entire banking, credit, crop insurance, your interest litigation and this risk mitigation in terms of, it's all again in the Government of India. And processing and value addition, it's in Government of India. And Government of India, whether Manmohan Singh or this President Modi or BJP or Congress, both the fellows have no interest in farmers. So the issue is, you have to go into the root cause of this entire problem. And the only possibility today, let me tell you, because you have given me an opportunity, I don't think any state can resolve any of these farmers' problems, because the real mischief is the real mischief is done by Government of India. You are talking of CACP, it's not autonomous. They fix MSP price for 26 products. They purchase only 2-3. Even that also, they limited 10, 15, 20%, mostly from Punjab, Haryana, and Andhra or Telangana. What about the rest of the people? What about those who are producing cereals, oil seeds, and then the perishables? Who should look after them? There is nothing this. See, not that I am desperate or anything. I can tell you the worst to this country is not from COVID, but because of the farm sector failure, for which earlier Congress was responsible. Now BJP is going to be held responsible. What will be the public reaction? Whether it could be suicides, but I would say it could be destruction of the whole rural infrastructure. Let a farmer can damage electric lines, he can damage a road, he can damage a water pipe, he can also damage a gas pipe. Let the country go to dogs. Why should he bother? Because sitting in home, he can take care of himself, not the city fellows. They don't have food, they don't have milk, they don't have vegetables, they don't have meat. They are not going to eat computers and currency notes. The whole it is a serious problem. I only wish and pray God that, because I am part of and parcel of this country, we are all one. But the Government of India, they don't seem to understand those people in Delhi. Whoever they are, whether Congress, BJP, all of them are absolutely, unconcerned about farmers. And I would say, look at this people. There is no use. I'm only feeling sorry, and I know God also is now closed both in Tirupati, Rome, and Makkah. God also is closed, shut his doors. So I don't know who is going to help people. And I leave it at that, because it is, if something has to be done, Mr. Modi, Government of India must take urgent steps, start sitting with not XYZ. No, it's not corporate, it's not XYZ. We have to evolve a new system for distribution, production, retailing. I mean, everything is collapsed. Today, virtual Indian economy is collapsed. Forget about your service and industry. They're not there. But even the food economy that is going to sustain this country, if Mr. Modi and the BJP government in Delhi, if you are sensible, please take urgent steps. Sit with lots of people. There are wonderful people who are knowledgeable people. Start preparing alternatives, because I mean, if you see, you are talking of war with China. Bloody hell, you can fight 100 years war with China. But if there is a food crisis in this country, for 10 days, the whole country will go to dogs. This Mr. Modi has to understand. People have to understand, and our great IAS people and administrators and our intellectuals have to understand. Because I am, as an old man, I am now feeling sorry, but I mean, how things will happen in the coming 2, 3, 4 years. But I am really desperate, and I only wish, because Modi, for some reason, we all trusted him. We elected him first time, he bluffed and he went away. And before elections, he gave bloody 6,000 rupees as to a beggar, giving a 500 note to a beggar. He has given every farmer a 500 rupee note. Now the COVID has come. Now, if he is really, Mr. Modi wants to save this country, don't look to your foreign policies or Chinese or blah, blah. You look to agriculture. You start taking every day, looking into farmers' issues, how to resolve them. Because there are 1,000 problems there. And yes, Modi can do it. Otherwise, Modi can ignore it and can take his own. What happens to his,
I want to take this now to Sanjay Jo. Mr. Jog, there's a viewer called Hyperbole on this chat who has said, why don't these people come out strongly and publicly? I just want to point out that we were coming out strongly publicly for the last 3-4 years. Nobody cared, or they cared enough to move this conversation from what was national television onto YouTube. Mr. Jog, here's the question. National media, most media, completely ignores the conversations of the farmers. And I also want to point out, even on YouTube today, when we normally have between 200, 300, 400 viewers, sometimes we've gone up to 600 viewers. Today we're discussing farmer distress. We have 99 viewers. So the general interest from the urban population is unfairly low. The interest from government, from bureaucrats is unfairly low on farmers. Do you agree with Mr. Chengal Reddy that we're running the risk of not getting food tomorrow and we don't realize it?
Faye, absolutely, I totally agree. When it comes to the issues of farm-related businesses, the attention is always minimal. I really don't know why. Second issue, as you rightly said, there is a clear-cut divide between the urban and poor and the villages and the cities. Look at it. What is happening there? Much more interest is there. If Varali is being renamed as a Kappared 2, or Pedar Road is being rechristened with some kind of an other name. But nobody knows when there are, the 5 major districts in Maharashtra, which includes basically from the Vidarbha region with a higher suicides. There are, I mean, people are just taken it not just seriously. One headline, that's enough. Later, there is no talk. So I think, on the one hand, the government is not at all serious. The government of India, as the senior panelists are saying, is busy in eventocracy and throwing some numbers, but actual implementation is nil. Third, very interestingly, look at the very state of affairs of the district central cooperative banks and the cooperative sector. Even though there are certain cooperative shacks which have literally benefited out of it, but still it has been a major engine of growth. What's been happening from the government of India is that to again conquer and take the control of cooperative sector. So as you rightly said, when it comes to farmer, when it comes to farming, there is always a talk of or a debate of whether you are going to concentrate on a productivity or a production. So the talk goes on. But when it comes to higher industries, big time or big ticket, what we can say the mergers and amalgamations, you get a front page coverage. Hardly you can get coverage on a farm related issues, but a headline when it becomes when there are a number of suddenly suicides which are reported. Look at the plight of the farmers now. As you rightly said, most of the farmers are unable or are having a major issue of a disposal of their agriculture produce now. Well, what will happen to that? So, on the one hand, the government and the states will have to devise some kind of a formula. I will not say the so-called infamous name of a package. I have seen that these packages have remained just a mere announcement. B, if at all both the governments at the center and the states are really serious to come to the rescue of the farmers, they will have to bring in a concrete plan which can be a workable and implementable. And a third, very interestingly, right now, they require a liquidity. Are you going to ensure them a liquidity so that they will have a smooth Kharif season and then the ensuing Rabi season? I think let's, we have to take it up this issue, figure it out, what is going to be the government's achievement and the failures. In fact, failures are going to be more, and how are we going to take it up, which will definitely benefit to the farmers. Thanks, Faye.
Very well said, Mr. Jog. Thank you so much. I also want to take one last question back to the professor, if I may. Professor, obviously, and like one of our viewers just pointed out, that the government should be smart enough. He said the Prime Minister and the government should be smart enough, DIP says, to realize that post-pandemic, healthcare and food will be the most important thing for the government to secure for this country. And that is something that we should have focused on, which we have obviously not focused on. My concern is that 85% of our farming population are small farmers who grow vegetables. And as we were putting up on the screen, stories from across the country show that vegetable farmers were the worst hit. And at the second round of lockdown, so Bangalore has locked down, Pune is locked down, parts of Odisha are locked down. Every time there is a smaller 1 week, 2 week lockdown like this, it is the local vegetable farmers that are hit the worst. What happens to our farmers, Professor, the small ones, if this continues for a very long time, how will they survive, or will they survive?
Yes, that's precisely the question. Kare koi, bhare koi. I mean, the people who are paying. A lot of discussion. I think we are missing the basic issue. It is the agrarian crisis is much deeper. And the genesis of the agrarian crisis is the मुख्य कारण जो है, that is industrial and chemical farming. And what Chengal Reddy was saying, I don't agree with him that genetic food is the solution. Biotechnology is a solution. The small farmers of India, and it is right from Albert Howard to all people have said, I don't agree that the father of India is illiterate. He is the most literate person. And we owe our food to that farmer who is producing in the per capita.
We seem to have lost that connection again. Let me take that same question to Mr. Chengal Reddy. Mr. Chengal Reddy, very quickly in a minute, what do you think will happen now? What happens to the small vegetable farmers if these continuous lockdowns don't stop?
See, one thing is from beginning of next year, they will not produce vegetables or fruits of any of these perishables. What they will do now that everybody has some source of rice, wheat available, they will stay back in their villages, they eat and then do some local labor. Luckily, this Manrega is there. They will provide them some money and then other things there. The question, what I am trying to emphasize is not happens to the farmer. What happens to these urban people? What happens to the national economy in terms of increasing the efficiency of both service and industry? I'm not worried about the farmers. If you look at the city people, what if they don't have milk for 1 week? What will happen to them? Have they ever thought of that? They don't know. They don't understand. What if there is no electricity, there is no water, there is no milk, there is no vegetables? They are not able to understand. I am only saying farmers, nothing is going to happen to farmers. Only thing is, will they commit suicide or will they rebel? They are going to revolt against the governments, be it state or center. How they will revolt, I don't know. When they can do whatever they want, because we have lost confidence in all the political systems, administration, as well as this judiciary. You see, all these together, these constitutional institutions have miserably failed. And to our misfortune, people like you have left TV channels and you have gone into private channels. Even the national media, they are also not interested. It is our bad luck what to do. So we continue. See, the question is farmers we have faced these problems all these 73 years. Every 3-4 years, this is happening. But what I would like to caution, because as you gave me an opportunity, this is nothing to do with XYZ. This is only to do with the national economy, and the person who can do is Mr. Modi and the government of India. If they have some sense, they should start working, as Professor said. Let us do some planning. Let us sit with some ideas. See, COVID has come, everybody in the world is working. So this is, as in fact, as you rightly said, please remember that this is going to be worse than COVID in terms of economy, people suicide, malnutrition, all sorts of things. And as a citizen of this country, I feel sorry because I visualize what is going to happen in next 3-4 years. Once the production's reduced, then you just imagine what will happen to your inflation, availability, as the professor said about malnutrition for the city people. Well, it's going to be a real mess. And I only, again, look, all that since you have done it, I have given and I express my views. If somebody can hear and take it, and I will also let me share with you my NRA friends, my city friends, all my elite friends. Only thing, unko to ye malum hona chahiye, kabhi bhuka kaise lagti. How do you, when somebody asks a Doon school boys what write an article on hunger, those jokers started writing hunger is hungry, hunger is difficult, hunger is this. Now, these people in cities who haven't seen the real plight of the farmers, what is a food shortage, these jobs will realize. I only hope next 1 or 2 years, it will not lead to serious complications. I will only hope put some sense into these people in the urban, organized, intellectual industries and others. If they have some sense, let them come forward and try to resolve the issue. Otherwise, the political system will collapse, your economy will collapse, and there will be food rights, and there will be a lot of other things. Nothing short of, I would like to feel, I would like to probably feel that it's going to be a revolution, like French Revolution, Indian Farm Revolution. Probably it happens, I'll be very happy, because then only at least these jobs will realize. That's what I expect.
But as we have learned in the past, unfortunately, India's farmers, in spite of the fact that it's the largest population of workers are engaged in farming, India's farmers are not organized. So there's no one organization or umbrella that organizes the Indian farmers. It's in fact in small pockets in various states. But that brings me to the end of this discussion. I do wish there were more viewers who had tuned in and showed interest in what is happening with our farmers, because it has never been this bad. And it does not bode well, like all of our panelists were telling us, for us to look the other way. And I want to remind you that you will sit down for dinner with your family, whoever you are, wherever you are. As you put food on your children's plates, realize that that food has come from a farmer. And if we today as citizens do not actively, vocally support our farmers, that food might not come tomorrow. And you do not want to feed your children with food that has costed somebody's life. And if we don't speak up for our farmers, we will in fact be taking their lives, because it has reached a point right now where they're getting constantly crushed by the lack of attention and by the lack of support. What do our farmers need? Our farmers need, for their perishable produce, fruit and vegetable, milk that cannot be stored for a long period of time, to quickly be moved and to reach the right markets where they get proper prices. These proper prices have to be more than what they have spent growing the vegetable. It has to be able to feed their children. It has to be able to pay school fees. It has to be able to fix the roof that is leaking in the monsoon. Simple things. We need for that to happen. We need for their loans and their structuring to be looked at. We need for them to be given pesticides, fertilizer, crop for the next round at proper prices. We need for the many, many experts in our country to be consulted and proper steps be taken, and be taken at an absolute war footing. Remember, it is our responsibility. We have access right now to YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and all of these other places where you can voice your opinion. You don't have to wait for someone to give you a platform. Speak on behalf of the farmer. That is your responsibility, because you are born in a country where you are educated, where you have ability, where you have access. The farmer's fate is on your shoulders. Tweet about it, write about it, talk about it, read about it. Insist that all state and central governments take the farmers seriously, because not just in the long term, but the medium term and the short term, we cannot afford to ignore our farmers any longer. All of these small lockdowns that are happening across the country are hurting the vegetable farmers, the milk farmers, and the fruit farmers in a way that you cannot imagine. They aren't able to feed their children. They aren't able to pay school fees. The number of suicides will in fact rise if we don't do enough. Please encourage more people to think about it, talk about it, tweet about it, write about it. Thanks for watching.